Good afternoon, friends. I'm so glad you're tuning back for part 2 of our Earth Day science-related lesson. We left off yesterday with the Think, Pair, Share to discuss what do you think you know about Earth Day. So I asked you to take it back, and when you had a meeting with your class, that you discuss something that you know about Earth Day. And I hope you've all had that opportunity. Or if you haven't yet, maybe you meet later today with your class. You have a few things written down that you think you know about Earth Day to discuss with your class. What do I think I know about Earth Day? I think it's about giving back to our planet, whether it be cleaning up the planet, whether it be planting trees or vegetables, with healthy ways of being able to give back, not to one another necessarily, but to our planet Earth. So let's continue on, friends. We're going to start right off with what questions do you have about this celebration? And I want you to use this image right here to try to spark some ideas. This girl's taking home a worm. What do worms have to do with Earth Day? That would be something I could type down here. That's a question for me. What do worms have to do with Earth Day? What else could I ask? Or what other questions do I have about this celebration? Maybe I wonder, how do people in other countries celebrate this day? And I could post my question just by clicking that little post button. I would post and I would continue on in my lesson. So I'm going to continue on. Hopefully you've maybe written down a question you have or a word that would make you think of that question, and you can share this too with your class and your teacher, and you can discuss it. Maybe your teacher can help you to answer your question. Maybe this presentation will help to answer your questions. We're going to do a little reading today, a little reading on Earth Day. So pre-Earth Day influence, how did we get to celebrating Earth Day? Well, in 1962, Rachel Carson, a marine biologist, environmentalist, and writer, wrote Silent Spring. This book created awareness and concern for the impact pollution was having on living organisms and the environment, and sold over 500,000 copies worldwide. Wow. So people definitely took an interest in what she had to say. This picture is a picture of Rachel Carson conducting research in 1952. So she looks like she's conducting research with marine life. Earth Day, an idea. So the idea for a national day about the environment started with Gaylord Nelson, a Wisconsin senator who saw the impact of the 1969 oil spill in California. He called for a national teach-in on the environment. Well, if I think about oil spills in California, oil spills are horrible for the environment around where it happens, the amount of wildlife that is killed because of the oil if they're not reached in time, and what it does to the environment and the water, the land, the plants, not just the animals, but also the plants. Let's take a look at our map. Our map here shows us the size of the oil spill. So if I look at the map, well, you might say that's just a little spot on the map, but it's really not. So it's showing us that red dot is where the oil platform was, right on the coast. And this was just the extent of the surface oil on February 5th in 1969. Southern extreme of of observed oil on beach. So all the way down here is where they observed oil on the beach. So this is where we saw it on the surface, but we know that that tide is going to, and that current is going to take and make that oil travel and spread. So if we think about how it spreads through the tide and the currents, we don't always see currents. They're underneath the surface. Remember, this is just the surface of where we could see things. And it made it all the way down through Coronado. That's a really long way to be affected. So Earth Day 1970. Now that oil spill happened in 1969. Well, on April 22nd, 1970, millions of Americans united for the health of the planet. Earth Week 1970 was supported by politicians and people from all parts of the country. This led to the creation of the Environmental Protection Agency, or the EPA, and the Clean Air, Clean Water, and Endangered Species Acts under President Nixon. So now we start to see how this is kind of snowballing into this positive force that's happening within America, the United States. Chairman of 1970 Earth Week, speaking to about 50,000 people. So this was the chairman of Earth Week giving his speech. We're going to continue on. April 22nd, Earth Day, is now celebrated each year on April 22nd, a day of global education, celebration, and action. No one government, group, or institution is responsible for the holiday. Communities, schools, organizations, they all draw attention to both local and global topics. So that oil spill was more of a global topic. If we take a look, these are girls in New York demonstrating for climate change in 2017. So they're demonstrating peacefully with their sign, walking the streets, showing that they have an interest in climate change. And this is how many Americans and other humans around the world show their interest in specific topics, especially relating to the environment. So my question to you is, what environmental issues gave people reason to speak out and demand change in 1970? What did we just read about, boys and girls, that happened in 1969 that gave people such a reason to want to speak out? Why do you think they would want to speak out about that? That event that happened, what did it affect? Did it just affect people? Did it affect marine life? What about the thousands of people that go to the beaches on vacation? What about the clarity of the water? What's the impact that that would have on beach and the sand in the beach? I'm going to give you a minute to think about that. You would go ahead and click right down here to share your thoughts or images. Hopefully you're going to pause, take some time to think about it, maybe discuss it with a family member. And when you're done typing, you're going to go ahead and hit post and then continue on. For today's lesson, friends, I'm going to stop right there. And I'll see you back here tomorrow for part 3.